Cancellation attempt number 2. The first one was about accents. I hate the N-word. What the fuck? Oh, that one's okay, huh? I see how it is. Anyway. I didn't grow up in a suburb. I didn't grow up in a gated community with a homeowners association and a neighborhood watch Facebook group. I grew up in Inglewood in the early 90s. If your city was getting name dropped in rap songs back then, it was a shithole, a dangerous shithole. That word was background noise, like living under the LAX flight path, loud, constant, and after a while, you just tune it out. But let me tell you about the first time someone used a slur on me. I came to this country not speaking a word of English. And when you're a kid in an LA school who can't communicate, you find whoever can translate. For me, that was the Mexican kids. Kids can be mean, just downright cruel sometimes. Border jumper, and whatever else creative grade schoolers could conjure up when they smelled vulnerability. It annoyed me. So I learned English in 3 months. Not because someone validated my feelings, not because the school board updated their language policy, because some kid called me a name and I decided that was never happening again. That's what you do with a word. And what happened to me is exactly what's happening to this conversation on a national scale. Now, before we go any further, Louis C.K. Yeah, I know. Degenerate piece of shit. Allegedly. Okay, not allegedly. But here's the thing about Louis C.K. Being a piece of shit in your personal life doesn't make you wrong about everything. And on this particular topic, he made a point that nobody has successfully argued against in 15 years. Saying the N word doesn't protect anyone from anything. The actual word lands in your brain the second someone says the N word. The sanitized version accomplishes exactly one thing. It makes the speaker feel clean. That's it. That's the whole function. It's not compassion. It's not sensitivity. It's a performance. It's you standing in front of a mirror, patting yourself on the back for your own decency, while the word you're supposedly protecting people from is already echoing around their skull. That's not virtue. That's mental masturbation dressed up as compassion. Nobody has touched that argument, not once in 15 years. So here's where we get to the actual argument. Either that word is acceptable or it isn't. Pick one. Because right now we have a system where the exact same word spoken by two different people produces two completely different outcomes based entirely on who's saying it. That's a double standard. Double standards combined with ideology are clubs used to beat people into submission with. And a double standard applied by race has a name. We all know what it is. It's racist. The people defending that double standard are doing the exact thing they claim to be fighting. They just don't have the self-awareness to see it. Or they do, and they don't care because the double standard benefits them. Either way, you don't get to claim the moral high ground while standing on a different set of rules than everyone else. That's not fighting racism. That's just racism with better PR. Now, I know what's coming in the comments. You don't understand. This word has 400 years of history behind it. It was used to dehumanize, to degrade, to remind an entire people that they were considered less than human. I hear you. And you're right. That history is real. The suffering is real. Nobody sitting in this chair is arguing otherwise. But let me ask you something. You weren't enslaved. The person next to you wasn't enslaved. The person making this argument on TikTok between dance videos wasn't enslaved. So at what point does an inherited grievance stop being a shield and start being a weapon? Because I genuinely want to know the answer. I'm not being rhetorical. Give me a number. How long? 200 years wasn't enough. We're still here having this conversation. So what is? 300? 400? 500? You tell me. Here's what kills me about this argument. The same people invoking 400 years of pain are the same people who turned that word into a punchline, term of endearment, a brand, and a billboard charting commodity sold to every suburban white kid with a Spotify account. You can't have it both ways. Either that word has been neutralized, reclaimed, diffused, redeployed as a symbol of solidarity, or it's still a live grenade with 400 years of shrapnel in it. Pick a lane, because right now you're trying to sell the grenade and pull the pin on anyone who touches it. If it's been reclaimed, then the outrage is a performance. If it still carries 400 years of pain, then putting it in a song and selling it to the world was a choice, a deliberate, profitable, hypocritical choice. Neutralized or nuclear? Pick one. Let me tell you about the last time someone tried to use a slur on me. Early 20s, had a disagreement with somebody, the kind of disagreement where the other person runs out of argument and reaches for something else. He called me a wetback. I immediately reached back to touch my back. Felt around for a second, turned back around, genuinely confused look. It was dry. His irritation was delicious. Here's the truth about words. They only have the power you give them, both as the person delivering them and the person receiving them. Every single time someone clutches their pearls over a word, that's not the word doing anything. That's you, your decision, your choice to hand that word more power than you can tolerate. The word didn't do anything. Your brain did all the work. But here's what nobody wants to talk about. That fragility didn't happen by accident. Someone taught you to be that sensitive on purpose, because a person who can be silenced by a word can be controlled by whoever owns the word. Think about that. The newest version of this con is words are violence. Words are violence. If words are violence, then the First Amendment is an illegal weapons cache. Your local librarian is locked and loaded with fully automatic word guns. Every teacher is armed and dangerous. That's not a philosophy. That's a control mechanism. With a college education, the people most invested in policing language are the same people who benefit from you believing that words are weapons. As long as you're paralyzed by syllables, you're not paying attention to what's actually being done to you. There are very few people on this planet with the ability to genuinely hurt me. They are all either related to me or meaningful to my life. Everyone else, you don't have that kind of real estate in my head, and neither does your vocabulary. Do your worst in the comments. I'll be there. If you're tired of being called an extremist for wanting to sing along to your favorite song, subscribe.